Hey guys, this is Grant Stromberg or Gigi Galore, and I am here with my mother, Tammy Willie,
Hey, hey.
and I have a very special guest, Mary Nance. She is a former stripper, correct? Former?
Um, in between.
Okay, so that answers that.
Hey.
The goal of this podcast is I met Mary Nance when she was here in Abilene, um, briefly. I'm not really sure why you were here or whatever because you seemed to like come here so quick and then you left.
Well, we were there just for the Jaguar at that point.
Okay. Well, I met her at a bar and I asked her, I knew she was a stripper and strippers and drag queens kind of have some things in common. We have alter egos, we have different names like Candy with an I. Which by the way, what was your stripper name? If you don't mind?
I was Jessica there.
Jessica there?
Yeah, oh, yes. I have
Okay.
quite a few across the country.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So we met at a bar, local bar here, and I hadn't met her yet as a stripper here yet, and I felt like, well, I know all the strippers, so I must know. Anyway, so I asked her, can I buy you a drink? And she ordered. I can't even remember or tell you what it was, but I can tell you that it was the most expensive drink that you
It
could get. And
probably
you
just
had
a vodka martini there.
no, honey.
No?
It had an elaborate 3-word name, and I was just like at the end, I was like, okay, and I'll have Budweiser. Like I just yeah. I was like, oh shit. But anyway, always very nice though, always willing to talk to me about stripping and you know, I've only been to a few strip clubs in my life. Mom, you ever been to a strip club?
Actually, I have been to a strip club, but we'll talk about that later. It was with my own mother,
I believe it.
hmm and it was in New Orleans.
And I
So,
also believe that.
yeah.
And yeah, so Mary, go ahead and tell us. So what or who was the first what was the first thing that made you consider stripping? How old were you? Like what made you say, "Hey, I'll give this a go"?
So when I was 18 years old, I was in my second year of college and I was working 70 plus an hour a week job. And I barely had enough money to put in my gas tank to get to and from work and school, let alone pay bills or have fun. And I
Mhm.
picked up a second job working as a cocktail waitress in one of the strip clubs there. And
Okay.
there's a joke in the industry that says, "What's the difference between a cocktail waitress and a stripper?" It's 2 weeks, and that was very
Oh,
true for me.
wow. Okay.
I saw the girls on stage, and I saw the money they were making and the effort that they had to put into it, and I just went, "I can do it.
Right. So
I might be
where
able to do it better." So it
right.
Oh,
was like you start off with confidence, and
So where did you where does one go to practice doing that? I just like, do you just find
ooh.
any pole you can anywhere, like a stop sign or, you know?
No, that's just after several martinis down Bourbon Street in New Orleans.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
but I actually, some girls just practice at work when it's slow or
Okay.
when it's early or really late and there's nobody really doing stage work. Some girls will buy their own pole for their house, which is
Okay.
what I did. Um,
How much
I
is
went, I
how much is a stripper pole for your house?
back then it was like $200, and they're not that expensive anymore.
Okay.
Um, it depends on what you get because there are several different kinds and durabilities, and if you want, well,
A
there's a
spinner
range
and
of prices.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I learned from doing a drag show at a strip club. They hosted us there. I didn't know there was a fucking difference between the two of them. And I was saying
Yeah.
on our one of our last podcasts that um I just went for it. And I just like could not stop. And I was like holding on for dear life. So I don't know. I mean, I gotta find the video somewhere because it looks cool. It looks like I know what I'm doing, but in
Slightly
reality, I'm like,
terrifying.
Yes, it was totally terrible. I was like, I'm gonna fall off, I'm gonna fall off, I'm gonna fall off, and it's gonna look ridiculous in somebody's video. Yeah, so tell us a little bit. You sent me you know, short biography. You started dancing when you're 18 in the Panhandle of Florida. So you call it dancing.
Well, yes. I mean, I switch between dancing and stripping. Some girls really prefer to be called dancers or independents or sorry, entertainers or independent contractors. Some girls don't mind and they can go by all three. I don't particularly mind. I don't feel like any one term is derogatory.
I don't either. I just want to get that out there so that people know that is like, yeah, it's dancing.
If you want,
it's exotic dancing, whatever you want to call it.
If you want to be totally safe, just call them independent contractors.
Interesting. Now, were you living at home? I know you were going to college, but were you living at home or were you living away?
I started living out of the main house when I was 15, 16 years old. And at that point, I was completely out of the state that my parents were living in.
Okay. So then you moved to New Orleans and you've kind of gotten some stripper skills going. And you just you visited and then you saw a club and you were like, that's the one.
I visited New Orleans first, also when I was 18, and I was going there as a dancer's bodyguard, basically just her chauffeur, getting her to and from work, making sure all her money was safe and secure and counted, making sure that she didn't wander off, get too drunk, get too fucked up, whatever. I got a good chunk of pay for that, but it was the morning that I woke up, the next night morning that we were there, and I looked out of the balcony and there's Elvis driving by on a moped, and he's followed by about a dozen girls wearing nothing but body paint, glitter, and flip-flops.
Wow.
And I went, my people.
Oh,
yeah.
I actually
so
relate.
At home.
So
yeah, I felt so at home, and I went back after that weekend, and I put in my 30-day notice with my house in Pensacola, and I moved the next week, and I stayed there for 8 years.
Now you say it was a wild scene, so talk to me. Why was it wild?
Well, it depends on what you wanted to do. Like if you were, we'll just stick to clubs for now. As far as strip clubs go, you got the full span of what strip clubs can be on one street. So everything from the hole-in-the-wall places where you could literally climb out of like a third-story window and walk across the rooftops to get out a different way or in, to the really high-class clubs that ran everything. They were very strict about what they did and didn't allow, about what the girls were able to wear. I found that all of them, all the different atmospheres that they presented they were equally entertaining in all their own ways.
Okay, and you worked at several, I take it?
Yes.
Because you're an independent contractor.
Sometimes just because I can't make up my mind or I piss people off. A lot of it was pissing people off.
And that is going to be one of the questions that I was going to ask is that, okay, so not unlike the drag world, the stripper world, I've heard, it can be very viciously like catty towards each other, and there can be a lot of jealousies and rivalries between girls, which of course, wherever there's money and drugs and men, there's going to be those things, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, I didn't have. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just done. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have. I've never had much problems with other girls. Some of that is because I haven't stayed, other than New Orleans, I haven't stayed in one spot for way too long. And even then, I was bouncing back and forth between the clubs. The people that I always ended up getting in trouble with were the managers. Because I have a tendency to not quite fall in line when it comes to authority.
Okay,
really?
So you wouldn't have guessed, right?
Well, so you know how you like see in these like in the movies, and because again, I haven't gone to too many strip clubs. Being gay, man, it's not really like, unless it's like to like for the girl, you know. But like, you know, you see in the movies like, you know, the club manager like in the back, and he's like snorting cocaine, and he's got a bat by his door, and he's like, you know, talking down to the girls and
counting the money.
I mean, is that like even close to being a real thing?
I've met a few of those. The managers, like the dancers, are pretty diverse. Like I've been fortunate enough that most of my managers have treated me very well.
Very well.
But there have also been some on the far spectrum. Um, they're the guys that would put their body in front of a bullet for you. Talk to you while you're crying, even if you're drunk crying. They know how to talk to you at least enough to they're not disrespectful. They're trying to build you up, get you to make more money, but also get you to have a better view of yourself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've met a lot of those in the industry. But then they're the non-complacent ones, and then there's the kind of sleazy ones that I once had when I was 19. I once had a manager trick me into giving him a lap dance. I'm young. I still was very new to dancing, and he told me that it was part of the audition. And I was like, okay, well, you already see me dance on stage. Why do you need to see this? He's like, well, I need to see what you're going to be doing for the customers.
And feel it.
I'm like, okay, sure thing. Why not? So I started giving him, like, I was fully clothed. I was just showing him the moves that I was going to present. And he's like, oh no, you have to do it nude. And I went, no.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like just in his office or something?
No, this was up on the VIP floor where nobody else was and there weren't any cameras.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's another floor where there's no cameras and
yes. Okay.
Sometimes.
So mom, yeah, sometimes I think in some places they call it like the champagne room, right? And it's like you can spend an extra, usually you spend extra money for like, if you have a small party, you can request a specific dancer to come up there, and there's a pole, and you've got like a booth and
okay.
Yeah, they have it for parties and they have it for individual people too. So if say a customer and a dancer, the customer sells him on a VIP room. They also have room for just the two of them in the back. Or if he has a friend, it could be the four of them in the back, her and another dancer. But that's not there are cameras in a lot of the rooms in clubs there, but there are some that just don't because it's supposed to be the private room.
Okay, but is there touching?
Normally, yes. I would say that the majority of the girls that I've worked with allow touching to a degree.
Okay.
And what about actual like sex?
Like, let's get raw about it.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot, especially in certain areas of the country. It's more prevalent than others, and no, I'm not going to name places.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking in general. I mean,
in general, the rule is there is no sex in the champagne room.
Right.
But sometimes there's always sex in the champagne room. It depends on where you go and who you're talking to and who's managing that night.
Yeah, that's true. Well, so how much do you get for sex?
That is a question that I can't answer. Because every woman who, we call that full service work. Anyone who is providing actual sex, and not just the fantasy of sex. That's what we call full service sex work. And I've seen girls run as little as $50 for vaginal intercourse, $75 for vaginal and oral, and like $150 for everything. And I've seen girls that will get upwards of $25,000 for the same thing.
My gosh.
And everything in between. since we do name our own sales, and since rates they vary dramatically across the nation.
Okay.
Across each club and across each woman. In some areas, you're not going to find
state too, you know.
And yeah, state too. For
so
me personally,
you negotiate with your client how much you're going to get, but how do you actually make sure you get it?
Oh, you always, that's like a number one rule. You always get your money up front.
So can I ask you candidly, have you ever
had sex with a customer?
Yes.
I've been propositioned, and every dancer has been propositioned many times.
Of course.
I've never actually taken someone up on it, but I have negotiated my own deals when they didn't ask. Say I was traveling and I was lonely and I was horny, and I see this beautiful person in the club and he's talking to me and he's spending money on me, and I want to up the ante because I want to fuck tonight.
Okay.
I'd tell him that I would take him into a private dance or a private room, and I would get him talking and start dancing a little bit. And I would tell him that he was auditioning, and they'd be like, auditioning for what? And I'm like, who I'm going to take home tonight. And that's only happened 3 times.
Okay.
But so yes, I did go home with a customer and I did get paid for it. But that's
but it was your choice. You wanted to do it, and you had the physical desire to want to chase.
And you initiated.
You were the chaser, really.
Yeah.
I've been lucky that way, but I was also lucky that I didn't get caught at the clubs that I was at the time, because that's a big no-no. Going home with the customers. Some clubs enforce that, some clubs don't, but all of them say they don't like it when girls do.
So I don't know if you can even remember, if you can think back on this, but like, what was the most you've ever made in a week? Like, okay, again, let's get back to just, pretending that every stripper is just a stripper. And, just stripping, what has been the best week, you've made in cash? Okay.
Best week that I've ever had.
Or night, however you want to.
See, the best nights are the ones that get me the most, because the best week that I ever had was one of the Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and I made about $7,000 that week, which wasn't even a sprinkle in the bucket compared to some of the other girls, because I don't do well in large crowds. So, but even then, it was great money. The most that I made in a night was a little bit over 12,000, and that was at the Hustler Club, Larry Flint's Hustler Club on Bourbon Street. And it was all off of one customer, and that was simply stripping.
Wow.
And that was one customer. One customer.
One customer.
Not bad, girl.
No, that was very exciting.
Oh my God, of course. Yeah.
Do you know if that place is it still there?
Oh yes, it's still there.
Okay.
I don't know how they're faring right now, because New Orleans is under a lot of pressure as it is with everything that's going on in the country and the world right now. But yes, they're still open, they're still running.
Now, would you say that you have gained confidence from stripping, or do you feel like that you wish you had gone down a different path and gone to school? I don't know, whatever. But like, do you feel like you've gained confidence, like as a woman, as a person, just, inner strength kind of stuff?
Inner strength, absolutely. Confidence, I had boatloads of it before I started dancing.
Okay.
And I think I gained over the years of dancing, I gained a more mature and well-rounded sense of confidence, instead of just blind. Instead of being just very young and feeling kind of cocky about yourself.
Right.
It also taught me to be humble in a lot of ways. You get humbled really fast in there, whether it be from the customers, from the other girls, and not necessarily all in bad ways. I met some of the best people in the world working in strip clubs. So you'll see other dancers that are going above and beyond to help other dancers that they might barely even know, just because their hearts are that big. You see them out on the floor and you see these guys talking to them in such derogatory manners, and you might see them crying one night or 1 hour, and then the next hour they're seeing somebody who has in need and going and helping them. And that just, it puts a different perspective on what's important and who's important, and how you can be taking a lot of suck and still be a good person to everybody else.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Very cool. Well, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to show some pictures of Mary real quick. Here, so
oh no.
They're beautiful.
Well, the pictures, I believe the pictures that I sent you were not that bad. Oh,
No.
yeah.
Well, no, they're great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was me at 18.
Where did you even get a picture like that done?
Oh, you know how photographers want to get girls to do modeling for them.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do it because I was snotty like that. I was like, I want to be paid if I'm going to be photographed.
Okay. And so this is you on pole.
That's me up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, just on the side stage of the Deja Vu Club there.
Huh.
Very cool. It's like it's like such a weird atmosphere though. There's all that black light, and you know, I don't know. You have to probably plan your outfits like so carefully.
Yes, that's why a lot of the girls wear neon. It's flashy.
Now explain this picture. What's happening here?
That was just a new costume that I had. It's a little like hooded. There was a fight going on that night that we were having over the club, and so it was like a little fighter's jersey.
Yeah.
But it was cut down in the middle, and I just got my black new 9-inch sparkly shoes. Was happy about them.
Okay, and then this picture, you look so incredibly young.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was me 17 going on 18 right before I started.
Okay.
Is this like henna tattoos or something?
No, that was the beginning of my big body wrap tattoo that I have now.
Okay.
I had just finished the outline on it.
Okay. You look like
your boobs have changed though. Your boobs have changed a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Oh.
I went home a year after that, and I hadn't seen my mom in a year because I'd been traveling all over. And I come home and she pulls me aside and she says, "Did you get a boob job?"
Oh my gosh.
It's like, no, Mom, they just came out of nowhere, I swear.
Oh.
Oh. But did you get a boob job?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
All right.
Oh, really?
34 triple Ds. No boob job. Not there, though. That was a C cup.
So this picture right here, is this a spinner pole? This looks like a regular.
No, regular pole. I wasn't about to put a spinner pole in my house because the people that get onto poles the most in your house are guy friends that come over.
Yeah. I would imagine so, like that are drinking and stuff.
Oh yeah, they'll be drinking and start to feel sexy, start spinning around on it, fly off through a window. No, thank you.
I was watching, stripper fail videos on YouTube, and it showed a whole bunch of guys that would like jump onto them and they would fall off. They would come out of the roof and stuff. But that's so funny you say that. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Putting on makeup. And what are these tattoos right here? What are those about?
That was actually, it ties into another question that you were going to ask about drinking and drugs and then maybe affecting.
Okay, so let's come back to that in a second, okay?
Then ask me about the tattoo then.
Okay. Well, okay, so then let's go ahead and I want to ask that question because I know in the drag world, for example, and in the adult entertainment business and whatever way that is, there absolutely is a niche for drugs and alcohol, and you have to kind of decide at some point, are you going to do it or can you do it without any of that? For me, anyway. So yeah. So what have you experienced in regards to drug use around you, or have you used drugs and alcohol or whatever? And what do those tattoos mean?
So of course I've seen a lot of drinking, a lot of drug use around me. It is pretty prevalent, but it's really not everybody using, and definitely not everybody's strung out. The girls that end up getting strung out, they don't last in the industry. They
Okay.
can't, because they can't do their jobs. Yeah,
because it's a physical job. I mean, right?
Physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So it I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke weed, but not because I think it's bad, just because it's not for me. And even drugs, I don't believe that they're terrible. It's just some people can do them, some people can't, and I'm one of the people that just can't.
Okay.
Cocaine was my DOC growing up, and
you say you can't because you won't stop, or
yes.
Because, okay, see, I'm like that too.
So how some people can go in moderation and just have like a little bit, just as a party favor. I can't do that. I won't stop. I'll jump all the way in and you won't see me for 2 months. So I just cut it out completely. And being around that, because I just quit when I turned 17, I cold turkey. And being back around that, especially in the VIP, the champagne rooms, when customers would bust it out and they'd be doing it and encouraging me to do it. And I'd have those.
Yeah, so you would have to, like, as you were, continuing to be a stripper, you would have to, once you decided I can't do this anymore, or do it, won't do it. You still had to be around it.
Oh yeah.
That must have been very hard.
To
me, that would be hard.
Oh yeah, it took several years to get past that, to the point where it doesn't bother me. Like, it could be broken out right in front of me and they say all yours and all mine, and I'd be like, no thanks. But
I love that you say that the girls that do use drugs habitually and just continually do not last. And what that tells me is that the strippers that are, that make it a career and they actually are successful with it, what that tells me is that that it becomes an art. It becomes a physical fitness routine. You know what I'm saying? You cannot be not physically fit to be a stripper. I have seen what y'all do, and it's just incredible. Which brings me, to my next point. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think a lot of people think that strippers automatically equal drug addicts or alcoholics.
It's not true. It is a problem in our communities. For me, I love my alcohol. I really do.
Well, I think people feel like you've got to do that to get through your night. And I think Hollywood has made that something that you see. And so you just think, you just can't possibly mentally get through it unless you're doing drugs or,
That's not true either. But like I said, a lot of girls do drink, and some of them even do drugs, and they do it in moderation and they're just fine. For me, I drink, but I have to keep a very close eye on how much I drink, especially when I'm deep into the night and it's been hours in and people are all buying shots and everything, because it's not just about being professional, it's also about safety. For you and for the other girls. Because if say you're drunk on stage and it's supposed to be the end of your stage and you're supposed to be leaving, and you're not, because you don't know, because you're fucked up. And this new girl comes onto stage, well, the next girl, and you end up tripping her up. She falls, she breaks her ankle, dislocates the knee. She's out of work now because you were an idiot and allowed yourself to get that messed up.
Right. Yeah. Right. And, it's the same thing, though. I have to say, in drag, I had to, and still do, have to learn that when I go to a show, I started doing drag drunk. I mean, I had to drink because I was so nervous, you know what I mean? Like, I had to do it. And it got to the point where I had to learn, like, choose, okay, can I do this art and not drink, right? Or is it always going to be a thing where it's just always attached to drinking and etc.? So I totally understand that. Yeah, so I'm glad that you were not like that.